Hey everyone, I'm happy to be back. It's been a minute, and if you have been listening for a while, thank you so much for being here. And if you're new, I'm Nicole Will, and this is a space where I'm Nicole Will, and I'm so grateful that you're here. I'm excited to fill you in on my life. Today's episode is a little different. There's no guest, no interview, just me. And honestly, this episode has been sitting in my heart for a while. Over the past year, so much in my life has changed professionally, personally, emotionally, and some of it has been exciting and some of it has also been hard. Some of it has stretched me in ways that I've never expected, and through it all, I have found myself coming back to the same question. What does it mean to keep gathering people together when life itself is changing around you? So today I wanted to take time and share where I've been, what I've been learning, what I've been building, and why I believe more than ever the future of aging and caregiving is rooted in connection and being here with each other, learning and growing while we're all honestly just figuring it out. Whenever I think about where I am today, I always find myself coming back to when my grandma lived with us. And many of you know this story. My grandma lived with our family, and she was such a big part of my life and my childhood and what brought me into my work of studying gerontology and then working in senior living, and really why I started willGather and the willGather podcast, realizing that aging isn't something that happens to other people, or caregiving isn't something that happens to other people. It's all of us. It's our families, it's our stories, it's our future. And looking back, I don't think I realized then that she was planting all of these seeds for a career, a mission, and really my life's work and calling. But that's exactly what happened. And this past year has felt like one giant reminder of why that matters. I've been in a season of letting go to, oh my gosh, personally, one of the biggest personal changes happened in our family, and my daughter left for college. So now I know many of you go through this, but no one really actually prepares you for saying goodbye to a child and having them move across the country. And for years, when your life revolves around schedules and activities and dinners and, celebrations, and then one day they are packing boxes, and the child that you were just holding now is this adult standing in front of you. And I'm so proud of her. I'm excited for her. And if I'm being honest, it's hard too. Parenting is like one big long lesson in learning how to let go while continuing to love deeply. And having all of these transitions in life has me thinking about all of the transitions that we all face in life, right? We are growing older, transitions that we face in our health, mobility, transitions in caregiving, and things that families navigate every single day. And another reminder that we are all not alone in this. I wanted to share about the work that I've been diving into in the last year. And one of the greatest gifts for me has been my work with Lorenzo's House. And if you're not familiar with Lorenzo's House, their mission is focused on supporting families impacted by younger onset dementia. And let me tell you, these families are extraordinary. The Lorenzo's House team is extraordinary, and many are navigating diagnosis in their 40s and 50s, having children still at home while you're building your career, and life is supposed to be moving forward, and then everything changes. And we know that it is a diagnosis of the family, and I've had the privilege to help support their programs and connect partners, being a part of Silver Echo and their different fundraising events that they've had, and Youth Summit. I will be a dementia coming up here in June. Their courage has changed me. Their willingness to show up for this community and one another has always given me hope. We were able to be together in Lyon, France for Alzheimer's Disease International. In April, I was able to bring my son along with me, and we had such an incredible time meeting with people from around the world, having conversations around younger onset dementia, and I'm just so grateful for the work that they are doing. I also wanted to share other updates in my life personally. A few days ago, over the 4th of July holiday, I helped feed my best friend. And just months ago, Ashley was training for a triathlon. Today, she is learning how to navigate life as a quadriplegic after a devastating accident. And as I sat beside her at Shirley Ryan Ability Lab, helping with small tasks that she once effortlessly did herself, I found myself thinking about something that I've learned over and over again throughout my life. There is no greater act of vulnerability than needing help, and there is no greater privilege than being trusted to give it. I shared these words in an article that I wrote for an organization called Being Patient, and I'm so honored that they shared my story, and I wanted to share it all with you as it's something that I think we all can reflect on, what it teaches us, and just to give a little insight and glimpse into my thoughts and feelings around all things related to caregiving. And for me, feeding my friend, it wasn't about feeding her. It was about witnessing this humanity and intimacy and one of the life's most difficult chapters that she's had, one that I've had. And it was about also me seeing the courage it takes to receive care. Most people think about caregiving and what we do for someone else, and I've learned it's just as much about what it does for us. And in many ways, that lesson began long before Ashley, and it really began with my grandmother. And growing up, my grandmother lived with our family. I've shared about this, and long before I got my degree in gerontology and certificate and had a career in aging services, I had a front row seat to caregiving, and I watched my parents show up for her every day, helping and listening and adjusting our family life, including her in our life. She attended all of our sporting events and wanted to always know about who I was dating and what was happening in my life. And as she grew older, we also began navigating the changes that came with dementia. And I witnessed firsthand how a diagnosis really changes a family, and it doesn't just affect one person but all of us. And I saw the confusion and the grief and these moments of frustration and the heartbreak of watching someone that you love change slowly. But I also saw something else, and I saw extraordinary love. I saw my family adapt. I saw patience where impatience easily was or could have existed. I saw dignity protected in a world that often misunderstands people living with chronic health and dementia. And at times I didn't realize how much those experiences were shaping me. And I simply knew that my grandmother belonged, and she wasn't separated from life because she was aging or because she was now in a wheelchair, because she was living with cognitive decline. It just became a part of the life that we had. And when I look back, I understand that those years gave me something really valuable, and more than knowledge, I feel it gave me perspective. And as I was working with my residents and all of the people that I've had the honor of caring for over the years, that led me to working with older adults and people living with dementia and caregiving, people experiencing loss and change. And in a lot of ways, it wasn't me only choosing a profession, but it was continuing this lesson that my grandmother and that my family had taught me many years prior. And then for more than 2 decades, I've had the privilege of walking alongside people during some of these most intimate moments of their lives. And I've helped people eat. I've helped people bathe. I've taken people to the restroom. I've helped people move from their bed to their wheelchair and helped with makeup and do their nails and their hair. And I've sat with families after these difficult diagnoses, and I've listened to caregivers cry and feel overwhelmed, and that, it's hard to feel like you can keep going on. And with every one of those experiences, I've learned, oh my goodness, I've learned so many things, but I always keep thinking about how, gosh, caregiving, it's an inside job, and the practical responsibilities of caregiving are real. There are appointments and medications and schedules and tasks and paperworks and decisions, but deeper, it is really asking us to step outside of ourselves and to slow down and think about, gosh, what does this feel like for the person that I love? What does it feel like to lose your abilities that you once took for granted? What does it feel like to need help getting dressed and using the restroom? And what does it feel like to struggle to find the words and remember names or navigate a world that no longer makes sense? And when we ask those questions, I believe something inside of us does change, and we stop seeing the symptom and we start seeing the people, and we stop focusing just on a task, but we focus on what does this feel like and the dignity around it. And one of the greatest gifts that caregiving has given me is compassion. Compassion, the ability to sit beside another person's pain without needing to fix it. I think we all struggle with that, right? We want to fix, but just being able to sit in it and be like, I'm here and I care about you. And the willingness to recognize that every person is carrying a story that we cannot see. The understanding that fear often hides beneath frustration. Grief hides beneath anger, and that resistance is often someone's attempt to hold on to control when everything else feels uncertain. I have been there this year, and caregiving has also taught me uncomfortable truths that I have to look at in myself, right? It shows me where I can be impatient and where I want control, where I rush instead of taking time and listening, and where I need to let go of the illusion that I can solve everything. And the people that I've cared for have been some of my greatest teachers, and they've taught me resilience, humility, presence, and perhaps most importantly, they've taught me that the value of being a human being has nothing to do with our productivity, our independence, or our abilities, but we are worthy simply because we are human. And as I support Ashley and her family, and I find myself returning to these lessons over and over again, and I've really been overwhelmed by the power of community and people showing up and reaching out and touching base, and the meals and the messages and the fundraisers and the prayers and the acts of kindness and caregiving reminds us that we are never meant to do life alone. It reminds us how deeply that we need each other. If I could tell caregivers one thing, it would be this: pay attention to what caregiving is teaching you, not just about the person that you are caring for, but about yourself, and notice where does your heart soften? Where does your perspective change? Where do you feel resistance? And where do your assumptions fall away? Somewhere between helping other people navigate their own vulnerability, we begin to understand our own. And in that space, something incredible happens. We discover that caregiving isn't simply about caring for another human. It is about learning about ourselves and having more compassion for ourselves. And I carry these lessons with me into every part of my life and my work, and whether it's supporting older adults and caregivers, and all of my work with Rendever and sharing story and building connection and helping empower people through the podcast, I am still doing what caregiving first taught me, which is helping people see one another more fully. And looking back, I can see how every chapter has led me back to caregiving, and we are meant to care for each other, not because it's easy, but it's one of the deepest expressions of love, and it is such a privilege to be in these intimate moments. A dear friend of mine had sent me this message after Ashley's accident that had me crying, and I just want to share this beautiful message with you and my thoughts around it because I think it speaks to all of us in different ways. She shared, "What a beautiful friendship and sisterhood that you share. I'm praying for you, ladies." It actually made me remember this quote from hearing Glennon Doyle speak years ago. "Sometimes an existing joist, which was designed to handle a certain load, becomes too weak. Maybe it was damaged by water or fire. Maybe it still has structural integrity. But in addition to being constructed, and a new load is going to be a lot heavier than before. Either way, now it is not sturdy as it needs to be. When a builder needs to strengthen that joist, she puts a new member right next to the original one and fastens the two together. Sometimes 2 new joists are needed, one on either side. Do you know what they call that? A sister joist. A builder uses sister as a verb, like, we need to sister the joists in the East Bay about 4 feet. Even better is the nonsensical sistering, as in, are they finished sistering the roof rafters? It's what you guys have always been to each other, more, even more, in these seasons that seem impossible. Sending all my love and prayers for miracles." And after seeing that message, well, first I cried because it was just so beautiful and I had never heard that perspective before. But it really is so much of what caregiving looks like. You know, whether you're caring for a lover, a spouse, a parent, a child, a friend, there comes a point when the weight changes and none of us were meant to carry it by ourselves. We are not always able to take that burden away, but we can stand beside you and help you carry it to become a place of rest, a place to grieve, a place to laugh when you didn't think you could, and a place where you don't have to explain your tears or sadness because someone else is just holding it with you. And isn't that what life and caring asks of us? Not to be unbreakable, not to have all the answers, not to be so independent and think we're stronger than everybody else, but to let someone come alongside us. And over the last few months, I've seen people quietly rearrange their lives and show up without being asked and celebrate small victories and refuse to let someone carry that impossible burden alone. And as someone who has spent my life, well, walking beside family caregivers, but also trying to do it all on my own and be independent, I often think that we support the person giving care without also acknowledging the people that are holding them, like the caring for the caregiver. And yet they're often the reason that we as a caregiver can keep going. None of us were meant to carry life seasons by ourselves. The heaviest ones maybe were always meant to be sister joists and to quietly steady one another, to lend our strengths when others gives away. And that's love really in its truest form. It's not fixing someone, it's not changing someone, it's not rescuing someone, but it's quietly fastening yourself alongside that person and saying, I'm here and we've got this, we'll carry this together. And so a message to each of you, if you've ever become a sister joist or a brother joist for anyone else, thank you. The world is held together by people like you. I've had such a season of the past few years of just being so reflective and so tender with what's happened in my life and for the people that I love and the people that I've cared for, that I have a new sense of care and understanding for life and just hardships and change and just how much we need each other. So segueing into other change in my life, that professionally I have stepped in a new role as head of marketing and partnerships at Rendever. And for many of you, you've heard me talk about Rendever on the podcast before. Kyle Rand has been a guest. He's just an incredible human who I admire and I've grown to respect and value and just learn from him all the time. His ability to teach me new things is something that I cherish. And today I get to share with you about this organization that is really transforming how we think about aging and social health and dementia care, family connection. And yes, there is technology in the role that it can play in helping us be more connected and have more meaningful lives. And it's work that feels incredibly aligned with everything that I've spent my career building. And what's funny is that in a lot of ways, it doesn't feel like a career change at all. It feels like this next chapter of work that I've been doing for more than 20 years. And so if you've listened to the podcast for any length of time, you know that I've always believed in that relationships are at the heart of healthy aging. We spend so much time talking about physical health and cognitive health, and I've always tried to lean into this with the podcast, but I don't think we nearly spend enough time talking about social health, right? The relationships, purpose, belonging, and meaningful moments that give our lives richness. And it's the reason why I was drawn to Rendever. Many people know us for our immersive experiences, that our worlds do not need to become smaller because of a life change, but that through shared experience, we can build deeper relationships and deeper connection. We are connected to each other when we share all of that, to our families, to our memories, to experiences. And every day I get to share a story and build partnerships and work along people who genuinely believe that we can change the way that we age. And one project that is new, that is meaningful to me, and I'm just so excited about, along with our entire platform, is the launch of Community OS. And it was built around a simple belief that the future of senior living is not about just offering more activities and things to do, but really understanding people more deeply and helping communities know that what brings someone joy, where they find purpose, who they connect with, how do we strengthen these relationships over time. And it's taking social health, something that we know matters, but giving it the attention that it deserves. And the work has also inspired something I'm really excited about, which you will be hearing on the podcast, which is a new thought leadership series that is in partnership with Rendever called The Future of Community. And this series is about asking the questions, right? What if connection was treated as seriously as healthcare? What if loneliness was not just accepted as part of aging? How are communities building today that are going to shape our future that we all want to grow old in? And I will be having the privilege of sitting down with some of the brightest minds in aging and healthcare and research and innovation and family caregivers and people with lived experience and people that I believe have the future on their minds and want to build one that is going to be built by all of us and learning from each other. And what excites me is that whether it's through the podcast or my work with Rendever or conversations that we're going to have with this new thought leadership series, is that this is the mission, right? The stories that we tell matter. The challenge that we have to think differently about how we age, and to help create a world where every person feels seen, connected, valued at every stage of life. The story is not technology. People are. Connection is. Purpose is. Relationships are. And no matter where I am or who I'm talking to, I keep coming back to that same realization that health is so much more than medicine. It is about relationships and purpose and being seen and belonging and feeling loved and having someone who knows your story and that you still matter. And today we have a name for that, social health. And we are beginning to recognize that this is fundamental to our health and our resilience and how we experience aging. And I've seen firsthand incredible senior living and healthcare teams that have understood this, and they know that these moments matter. But I've also seen what happens when social health is overlooked and when we lack the infrastructure to understand each older adult more deeply and personalize those experiences and demonstrate that impact over time. But now we have the tools to be able to really measure that in a way that is going to improve lives and give our colleagues information to do better, right? When we know better, we do better. And one of the things that I think is just so important is all of these tools and all of these conversations are a bridge to connecting with each other, a bridge to purpose, memories, family is one of the greatest opportunities in healthcare today. And so we know that it's incredibly special when people can be in community with each other, combined with compassion and evidence-based tools and environments where we can grow and contribute and connect and thrive. So I'm just incredibly proud to be a part of a team that is bringing this vision to life. I am incredibly proud of the podcast, being able to share all of my colleagues and advocates' stories. And as many of you know, while this began with my grandmother, and she's still the reason that I do this work, the reason the podcast is here, and the reason that I am just always reminded how quickly everything can change with my close friend experiencing that life-changing accident, with a change in my own personal life and walking beside friends and people that I care about. It's also one of my greatest privileges, and we are love in action and community matters. And where does all of this leave us and all that I've learned and all of the change and transition? It leaves us right here. The podcast will be more intentional than ever before. The conversations that we've been having for years about dementia and family caregiving and healthy aging and purpose and relationship and social connection, these are no longer niche conversations. They are becoming some of the most important conversations happening anywhere. So here's what you can expect: more incredible guests, researchers, family caregivers, older adults sharing their wisdom, innovators, conversations, hope, and bringing people together to help shape the future of aging. And I cannot wait to introduce them to you. So thank you for staying with me. Thank you for every message. Thank you for every review that you've left, every episode that you've shared, and the conversations that you've started because of something that you've heard here. You've built this community alongside of me. I'm so grateful you're here. And a fun thing that I found out this past year was that our podcast was #1 on the senior living podcast charts, and it's because of you. So as we begin this next chapter together, we are going to continue to tell stories that matter, and I'm more committed to this podcast more than ever before. And while it may change its rhythm, rather than releasing episodes every week, we'll hopefully get back to that, but we will be sharing monthly, a few conversations every month, and just continue those thoughtful conversations and amazing guests. And my hope is that you will feel that each episode will be intentional and meaningful and worth the wait. And I want to remind you, usually in the summer, I take a little bit of time from the podcast. And one thing I've been reminded of this summer specifically is don't underestimate the power of fun. Go to the concert, jump in the lake, take the trip, sit on the patio, laugh, spend time with people that you love in your life. And we spend so much of our lives waiting for the right time, or when I get this done, or when I work on this. But joy has a way of healing us in the most ordinary days, and I have found that specifically this year is to have fun and be with people that you love, create memory, get outside, make memories, and sometimes the most productive thing that we can do is live. We owe it to ourselves to live a full and beautiful life. So have a wonderful rest of your summer, and I cannot wait to share what's coming with you next. Thank you for listening.